What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikai Says Sukas. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. And today I have with me the other half of the Convo Couch. The other day I had pasta, so I had to bring on Fiorella so she can talk about this Joe Biden sexual assault. I mean, I don't know what else to call it, but nonsense, because just the way it's being addressed or not being addressed, the way it's being ignored by Joe Biden himself, and then the standard that we had thought had been set by the Democratic Party earlier in this election, which is that we take these issues super serious. And apparently that standard is not being adhered to. So, Fiorella, can you break down for me the situation with this young woman, or I guess she's not that young anymore, but she was young whenever Joe Biden assaulted her or allegedly assaulted her, and what it looks like in the way that the Democrats are handling the situation.
Yeah, so her name is Tara Reid, and she used to work for Joe Biden, and she was basically a staffer. And so she went on the Katie Halper show and did a whole interview. And out of that whole interview, Katie released like 7 minutes of it. And in those 7 minutes, it was really hard to hear. She describes how Joe Biden specifically called for her to meet her by the Capitol building, and then pretty much raped her, but using his fingers, obviously. And how he told her, "You are nothing." And that's the part that she recalls the most, and what affected her the most. She used to look up to Joe Biden as a feminist, as the guy that was fighting for women's rights, which goes to show you just how easy it is to be duped by what people say about a person rather than look at their actions. Because if you would have looked at Joe Biden's actions even back then, about 30 years ago, you wouldn't necessarily call him a guy that's fighting for women's rights at all, with the Hyde Amendment and with the fact that he was so conservative in his viewpoints and the way he referred to women. So,
or look at the Anita Hill situation.
Right.
That was literally dealing with sexual assault, and he led the charge against her.
Exactly. And so he has about 7 accusers in total. So this is the one that came out, most recently. The most important thing to know about this, however, is the fact that she tried to go after the mainstream media and tell them, "Hey, this is my story. Can you guys talk about it?" And they completely ignored her. She went to Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren. She also went to Me Too and Time's Up, and they completely told her, as you probably know, they either didn't respond like Me Too, or Time's Up basically said, "Oh, we can't because Joe Biden is a presidential candidate." And then you find out that I believe it was like the board member.
Oh, his senior advisor. Senior advisor is the primary financier of Time's Up. That is insanity. It's just like the Alyssa Milano situation.
Exactly. And how does Alyssa Milano, she just keeps talking about how great Joe Biden is, completely ignores it. So what this has showed is the hypocrisy that we've known about it, but I think it's becoming more clear to a lot of people that the Democratic Party is vote blue no matter who assaulted or raped you. They don't care. If it's a Republican, you would have seen all these same people calling her a liar, because that's what it's progressed to now, calling her a liar. You would see all these same people say, "Oh my God, we need to stand by her, believe women, et cetera, et cetera." If it was a Republican, but because it's a Democrat, because it's Joe Biden, just like with Bill Clinton, they completely ignored it and they become complicit in this. And now they're pushing that she's Putin's wife. They even made up a whole big deal.
What?
Yeah, they call her Putin's wife. They call her a Putin surrogate. They say that they're tying Russiagate to this. And not only that, they made up a whole scenario where this woman went on Dr. Phil. They're accusing her of going on Dr. Phil and being crazy and having a relationship with Putin because of a woman who kind of looked like her, but not really. And they try to say, "Oh, that was her." And all of this on Twitter, all the neoliberals attacking her. It's disgusting. They're like, "We don't believe you. Joe Biden's great, blah, blah, blah." It's gross.
Well, that's crazy because just in what 2019, even Business Insider reported that 8 women had accused Joe Biden of inappropriate touching. Like even in 2019. So, and this is a mainstream media outlet. You know, they didn't say that specifically that he sexually assaulted them. They said it didn't amount to that, or at least in their minds, you know, that it didn't amount to sexual assaulting. However, I mean, if that many women have accused you of inappropriate touching, and then we have the very public pictures of you doing it over and over and over again, you really do have to wonder if a person like that, and I would say the answer is yes, but if a person like that has a propensity to take it even further if they thought they can get away with it. And usually the answer is yes, especially when it comes to people in power. I find it interesting, however, that Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris ignored this for God knows what reasons. And I specifically point out Elizabeth Warren because, as you remember, whenever she accused Bernie Sanders of saying that no woman could beat Donald Trump, there was a narrative being put out that she was embracing, that we should quote unquote believe women. Like that's she was trying to associate the two movements with with her selfish goals. And I distinctly remember Neera Tanden saying that hashtag, oh, believe women. I'm like, what the hell kind of shit is this? This is not even close to that type of situation. But now, as we fast forward, because it's crazy, Will, what do we always say? We're going to see how this looks in a few months. And it always comes full circle. Because when you know these type of people, you just know them. And you knew that this type of situation was going to come up. And you knew it was eventually going to come up. Hell, if anything, maybe it came up a little bit sooner because we assumed that it would happen when Donald Trump starts roasting them. But it came up way sooner than anticipated. And look at where we're at. Where is Neera Tanden? Where is Elizabeth Warren? Where are all these women who weaponize the female being throughout this entire campaign, only to turn around and be silent when an accuser comes out? Don't even try to listen. They don't even try to hear her out. It's utterly disgusting, honestly.
Funny you mentioned that. I was with my friend and I ran into one of the people who had voted for Bernie, and they're like, well, it looks like it's Joe Biden. We need to vote for him. And I'm like, did you hear about what the whole Tara Reid situation? He's like, yeah, they're just going to start throwing everything at him. The Republicans, they're just going to make things up now that he's, the front runner. They're just going to start making things up, and we need to vote blue no matter who. And I was like, wow, so this is the lies they convince themselves of. Even previous Bernie supporters who are now like, who are giving up, and not a strong Bernie supporter. I mean, this person wasn't like, a hardcore burner.
They were the fair weathers that came by when they realized how popular he was.
Right, exactly. And so I was like, what? You're dismissing this woman entirely because you think Republicans brought this up? Republicans didn't bring this up. I mean, there was the Ryan Grimm article on The Intercept that mentioned it. Then there was Katie Halper, and now she's been on Rising, and now she's getting some mainstream, but not really hardcore like CNN. She's not getting MSNBC talking about.
You mean like whenever what's her name? Laura. Okay, so remember whenever Trump was accused, like in the middle of the campaign, basically right after he had won or right before he had won, and it extended well into his presidency, of raping or sexually assaulting multiple women. And then when you do, and people assumed, the left especially assumed it being legitimate, they assumed that it was true. But it was just very convenient because I remember that Trump was a Democrat, and these allegations were supposedly from years and years ago while he was a Democrat. And so I was like, well, who started this lawsuit? And you do some research and you find out, I want to say it's Lisa Bloom. Lisa Bloom was the one who gathered these women together after taking money from a Hillary Clinton super PAC to accuse Trump of this very same thing, except for you also find out, because of the Harvey Weinstein situation, Lisa Bloom was Harvey Weinstein's chief advisor during this entire situation. And everybody on the left, once again, presumed that Donald Trump was guilty. I don't know if he was guilty or not, but what I do know is all those same people, because they use it obviously as a weapon against Donald Trump in a political way. Not that they actually cared about any of the things that these women allegedly went through, but now we're on the other side of that fence. And you have, and by the way, Lisa Bloom is known to do this, where if you accuse a known established elite Democrat of anything, because she's supposedly this super, feminist attorney. But if you accuse a Democrat, nope, she's not doing it.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's where we're at now.
It's where we're at. They're a bunch of hypocrites, and at this point it's disgusting. And I think all they've done is pretty much expose themselves and who they are. For example, Simone Sanders was caught deleting the tweets where she was supportive of Me Too. And I posted it on my Twitter recently, and a lot of people are going to start talking about that. She's deleting like any sort of supposition where she was supporting Me Too during the whole Christine Blasey Ford thing. She was obviously supportive of her. A lot of us were. And, you just expect to have that consistency across the board. Like when somebody is accused, somebody with that demeanor, like Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, by the way, it's beyond his demeanor. We have seen videos of him in multiple instances treat women disrespectfully or creepily. But also there's the one poignant thing she said was he took his hand and pointed his finger at her. He has literally done that on video.
Yeah,
he has done
remember
that to women.
with the soldier that he said where he lied and said his son was killed overseas at that weird situation, and he was doing the same thing when he called that girl a dog face pony something or another, whatever the hell that was. He did the same thing. And so you're right, it is pretty emblematic of his mannerisms in those type of situations where he very what's the word? When he's like in a what's the word am I looking for? Basically where he's engaging and he's upset or potentially upset or trying to, you know what I'm saying?
And she said he kind of smiles like when he's angry, and he totally does.
That
it's
nervous.
One of those creepy, And I mean, even if she made the whole thing up though, just how easily they go and ignore it and completely, they don't touch it. They won't talk about it. CNN he did an interview with CNN. They didn't ask him about that. And I think it was Anderson Cooper.
The town hall, they didn't ask him about it. They didn't even ask him about it at the town hall.
Nope.
Like that's oh my God. Like it's so frustrating, because this is why I always say the Republican Party may be evil, but the Democratic Party is a different type of evil.
Right.
That these Republicans are like, they're just simply trying to preserve the status quo, which is, bad. The status quo has been bad. It's been bad for literally, I don't know, the entirety of America's existence. But that's not evil. That's like some type of self-preservation based off of what you think you deserve because you used to always have it. Democrats are different. Democrats are sociopathic, as in they will befriend you. They will pretend to fight for what you fight for. They will pretend to care about the things you care about. They will act as if they are racially inclusive, if they are inclusive of genders and members of the LGBTQ community, if they will act and put on an acting. Then when you get to situations like these, not only will they not help you, not only will they ignore you, but they will put you down. They will kill your career. People forget the originator of the Me Too movement was blacklisted from Hollywood as they stole her movement from her.
Tarana Burke.
Exactly. And what they do with these types of movements is they co-opt them, the establishment, especially the Democratic establishment, it'll co-opt the movement so fast and put their controlled opposition, their controlled faces in front of them, and they get street cred off of it. But the person who is a nuisance is made an example of for everybody in that small, tight-knit, elitist community, saying, and that's what's going to happen to you. You think you're going to start something, if you think it's going to be motivational or inspirational, no, we will take it from you. We will use it for our advantage, and we will crush you.
Yep. That's exactly what they do. The one good thing out of this whole situation, though, I think, is Joe Biden has added another layer of why he's not electable, because obviously Donald Trump is going to take this and run with it, because that's all the Democrats did when he was campaigning is, you're a racist, you're a sexist, blah, blah, blah. Well, Joe Biden worked with segregationists. Joe Biden is the author of the crime bill. Joe Biden, Anita Hill. Joe Biden, the Hyde Amendment. Joe Biden, Tara Reid, and 6 other women. Joe Biden, NAFTA. Joe Biden wants to cut your Social Security. I don't want to cut your Social Security.
It's true.
He can attack Biden from
Joe
the left,
Biden would veto Medicare for all.
Yeah, exactly. He can just
and
go
Trump has already
that.
said he would sign it.
And that's this, it's ridiculous that, you know, that the Democrats are hinging all of their, most of them are hinging all their bets, because what's happened right now is a lot of the groups that endorsed Sanders, endorsed Warren, are talking to Joe Biden, including Justice Democrats. They're speaking with Joe Biden,
What?
and they said yes, and this just came out, and they
Well,
said,
I don't
oh,
think we're
we
surprised,
are
but
right, me neither, but we're, you know, we're prepared to endorse the nominee. And it's like, oh, so you guys are all just gonna fall in line. And if this happens, when this happens, when if this happens, I'm going to literally, like, I mean, I, not just myself, but I think all of us need to literally, like, if we're still in quarantine, find a way to do a massive protest on our own. And I think I don't know how long this thing's gonna last, because it's throwing us off completely. But there, something's got to be done. I mean, this is the end of the Democratic Party. If they're going to get behind a guy that is so similar to Trump, who they hate and they criticize so much, that's it. That's the end of the Democratic Party. The rest of America needs to figure out, like, there, you've been played this whole time. You're never gonna get somebody good, because they rigged the elections, they put whoever they want, and that's it. And you guys need to realize that. And we need to not have a two-party duopoly anymore. We need to go outside of it.
I think what's scary about this whole this. So remember, whenever we used to have plenty of conversations about the Justice Democrats. We've talked about the Justice Democrats, the organization, on this show for quite some time. And I'm one of the things, until AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar came into the picture, you almost never saw. I think the only other one was no, he wasn't Justice Democrat. I think he was just All Revolution, the guy in Michigan, Abdul Al-Sayed, I think his name is. But until those three, you never saw National Our Revolution endorse Justice Democrats. And I always found it peculiar. I was like, well, why wouldn't they do that? I don't understand. And it was a red flag to me, to be quite honest with you. And at the time, before she had all of her damn miscues, AOC, because I didn't know about Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan yet, was like the only decent Justice Democrat that I had actually seen. I was doing research on a lot of those people, and most of them were simply, they were like almost in positions to usurp somebody who was progressive potentially in their area, like that had mostly voted on progressive legislation. And so now when we fast forward, and we're kind of seeing, in my opinion, what me and you and Pasta and a few others have kind of concluded was going to be an inevitability, right? The Justice Democrats they were always planning on falling in line, at least for the most part. And I think that that's been kind of exemplified through the actions of some of their members in Congress right now. And you see that slow capitulation. But at the end of the day, like, and we can talk about Bernie in a second, but Bernie, no offense to Bernie, Bernie's a man. I don't expect old white men to be good on issues like this. We should expect them to be, but like, I'm just being like forthright about it. Unfortunately, there's a standard that's been said that it's here. However, when you are a woman like AOC, why are you not talking about this? Why you have
none of them
possibly the largest. Who has do you think that
silent.
AOC has a larger platform than Bernie, right? I would probably say, because she can reach people in a way on mainstream that Bernie can't get to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So why are you not demanding that your platform be used to speak to this issue and embrace Miss Tara Reid, so that she can tell her story? And then we let the people decide, because this is, once again, it'd be different if this was a one-off. This isn't a one-off. This is a in addition to what we already knew. Exactly. And so if you are a champion of this particular issue, like they claim to be, how are you not speaking out about it? Right. Why? Because you're preparing to back this person. And to be completely honest with you, although I wish Tulsi would I wish she would kind of retract her endorsement. I understand why she hasn't, because it just doesn't, I mean, she hasn't cared about the election and all that good stuff. And I'm sure she doesn't, she's just not going to get involved in the horse race in any capacity, because then it just becomes about the horse race rather than her coronavirus efforts. And that's what she's been primarily focusing on. I pray that Bernie doesn't endorse. I pray that, AOC and Ilhan, but it's looking like they will. And I don't know. I like Bernie can survive it because of who he is. Tulsi, people will move on because she's not as popular as either of them. But if AOC or Ilhan or Rashida Tlaib, which I don't think she will, but I think the other two might, if they endorse Biden after this, they might kill their careers. They might kill them. And because there's already a progressive running against AOC right now in New York. I don't know if you know that. Like there's a progressive, there's a progressive, I want to say she's Arabic, running against AOC right now. And so because people are starting to see through the game, through the con.
Yeah.
And
it sucks because that's the thing. Like, I get it. You guys are in the system now. And this is why I go back to the whole two-party thing doesn't work. This was the last chance we were willing to give the Democratic Party. Like, if you play nice, if you don't fuck this up, if Bernie wins, if everything was fair, he would be winning right now, right? And they screwed it up. It's the whole there's a whole hashtag now going around called F around and find out, right? Fuck around and find out.
yeah.
And it's a hashtag,
really?
and like
That's
we're
funny.
on like phase 2 of that because they fucked around.
It's funny because I remember tweeting it out like 3 months ago. I didn't think it was, I didn't think people actually knew what that meant, but I'm glad people do.
So
but in all seriousness, now I do got a question for you because, just because Bernie's still in the race, do you as a woman and as a Bernie supporter feel like Bernie has some responsibility to shed some light on this?
Absolutely.
Or do you believe you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't expect him to actually address this. And the fact that he hasn't is a problem. And I know he hasn't, probably because he's going to eventually endorse Joe Biden. I mean, that's what he said. He said, I'm going to endorse the nominee. So if Joe Biden's the nominee, he's going to endorse it. And I think that's problematic because now we're putting party over people. We're putting party over what's actually happening. And yes, it's an accusation. And yes, it can't necessarily be verified and proven. But again, he's ignoring the 6 other instances where Joe Biden was accused. He's ignoring Joe Biden's record. When he says Joe Biden is my friend, I don't like it. But even with this now, this makes it worse. What's going to happen when we see AOC, Ilhan Omar, Bernie Sanders all stand behind Joe Biden? This, knowing what they know about him, that's going to be the end of not only the Democratic Party, but I think the end of progressives believing in somebody they've edified some of them, Bernie Sanders, to a certain degree, and they need to realize that can't happen anymore. You can't make a celebrity out of AOC as if she's some sort of goddess, and then you realize, holy crap, she's a human being. And we have a tendency to do that, and across the board, in every whether it's progressives or not. And we need to stop doing that because these people are public servants. And so, regarding what Bernie Sanders needs to do, Bernie Sanders needs to address this. And if he doesn't address it and, he just gives in and endorses Joe Biden, then that's going to fracture our movement. People are going to actually now radicalize, I think, more than what you saw in 2016. I think they don't realize. They're so arrogant and they think we're all just going to fall in line and vote for Biden. And it's not just going to be that we're not going to vote for Biden. It's going to be that we're going to break away and never participate in the Democratic Party again.
Oh yeah, there was a new article that came out that I'm planning on covering tomorrow that said only 15% of Sanders supporters said they're supporting Joe Biden. Bro, that's not gonna cut it. That is not gonna cut it. That is about to, oh my God, are you kidding me? How are you supposed to? The country is 28%. This is as of December, 28% Democrat, 28% Republican, 44% independent, and everyone can vote to decide the outcome of this race. And most of the people, because of y'all's dumbassity, the Democratic Party wanting to make everything a closed primary and all that bullshit, or semi-closed, most of these people are Democrats. I would say 90% of them are Democrats. So, and you already, and how many of them are in California that you polled? How many of them are in New York? So how much do those votes even actually matter? Because most blue no matter who people are in those like quote unquote Democratic bastions. You can't win without Bernie's supporters. You can't win without progressive supporters who may not have supported Bernie this go around. You can't win without independents who don't think you're a weirdo. You can't win because when you combine all that, right, with Trump is insanely popular right now. It's kind of uncomfortable how popular he is. He shot in the middle of a goddamn economic crash and a pandemic. Trump is at a 49% approval rating. Do you understand that has never happened in history? And your best chance to beat him, the Democrats put forward Joe fucking Biden, who is guilty of everything they accuse Trump of, but probably worse. From the Ukraine gate to the sexual assault to the worst thing they could get Trump on, which I don't think they ever got actually paid, was potentially paying off a porn star for consensual sex. Oh, lo and behold, elitist rich white guys like having sex with porn stars. And it was consensual. Oh my God. Like, that's the worst thing you can get him on. Hell, we would be lucky at this point if Biden did the same thing and it was consensual. Like, that's the position that we're in. And I don't think that they really understand what's at stake this election. But I agree with you. They're going to fuck around and find out.
Yeah, bottom line. And even a lot of people are saying they'd rather vote for Trump than Biden. And that's some of the progressives I've seen. Like, if they nominate Biden, I'm voting for Trump. And I have never seen it like with that much enthusiasm. I think last time it happened because Bernie had the crossover appeal, but this time it's not even about Bernie. It's about how much they hate the Democratic Party and how much they want to see it crash and burn. And guess what? I'm with it. I mean, look at what they've done right now. They've done a $2 trillion bailout, both parties. Mm-hmm. They've shown that they're only all about themselves, not really about the people. And this pandemic is exposing just how bad the Democratic Party is. Oh, yeah. And if anything, that should help Bernie Sanders. However, it's up to him to actually go hard and, act like he hasn't given up. And act like he's not a Democrat.
Because right now he's starting to look like a Democrat. That Matt Stroller,
right, and he's an independent.
Mm-hmm. So why is Matt Stroller interview really kind of pissed me off, because not even just from his perspective, but I remember Tulsi. I remember a Republican. I wish I could remember who it was. There was a few people, very, very few, but it largely went ignored, that talked about this bailout situation. Like, because Matt has said that this was in the works 2 weeks before it even started getting discussed, type of shit. And there should have been a coalition on the ground in Congress to rail against it. But instead, because nobody wants to be enemies with Pelosi or Schumer, most Congress people were quiet about it. And then Congressman Massey, Republican from Kentucky, even came out and said when interviewed, they did it. And you know how it goes when they do voice vote, we know why they do it. And they did it to protect. He said specifically, I was told they did it to protect members of Congress. So in other words, most of these people, in my humble opinion, including progressives, knew this bailout was coming and they did nothing to stop it. And they said nothing about it. Most of them did not. And that type of behavior, Bernie cannot beat Trump with by being another good Democrat. Like, you have to embody that independence that drew so many people to your 2016 campaign, or you're not, because this motherfucker Trump, his opposition research is not to be fucked with. I don't know why people keep pretending like this man doesn't. You can say whatever you want to about him. When it comes to research, he kills it. Let me read some of these super chats real quick. Ben Riley, thank you very much for your patience. He says, sadly, we need to go to Fox with this story. Has Fox covered it already? I feel like they've covered it. I don't watch Fox News, so I wouldn't know. So usually, look, most of the progressives, we just kind of wait for Tucker to cover it. And we're like, we'll see if it's worth covering. It's so bad. It's so bad. I know, y'all. I'll be honest with you. Like, man, if it's worth it, if Tucker picks it up, maybe the rest of Fox News will pick it up. Otherwise, I'm not paying attention to Fox News. Ben, thanks for the second super chat. Has anyone reached out to Monica Lewinsky? Real talk. I have actually. I reached out to Monica Lewinsky a year ago. I think when she started, like when she was getting a lot of publicity again for her anti-bullying campaign, I reached out to her for an interview. Unfortunately enough, I'm not that popular, so she never reached back out. But I think it is important to try again because, one, I just find it interesting how similar Joe Biden and Bill Clinton are from everything, like the way they go about their business. What was Bill Clinton's whole thing? People forget Bill Clinton ran on being tough on crime. Bill Clinton ran on having a stronger military. Bill Clinton ran, he's part of the Democrat Leadership Council. So is Joe Biden. He has all these sexual assault allegations. So does Joe Biden. Joe Biden's son was on that board for Burisma. Guess who set up that coup in the Ukraine to allow that shit to happen? Bill Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, or I should say the Clinton administration shit. That's basically what the Barack Obama administration was. There is just so much crossover appeal. But what I find, once again, the most interesting is how, once again, everybody assumed Donald Trump was guilty. They just assumed it, right? Okay, cool. Believe women. But Hillary Clinton got away with literally silencing and completely trying to delegitimize Bill Clinton's victims.
Yep.
Remember when they were brought on the debate stage? Bruh. Y'all bringing somebody who would bring sexual assault victims on the debate stage, bruh.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that.
I think they know that and they don't care. This is what I think. I mean, I think the Democratic Party knows who Joe Biden is. They know that he has dementia. I mean, we can say that. He obviously is not mentally equipped to be president. He's not physically equipped to be president. He's not, his record alone as well. But I think they know this. And I think they know he's going to lose to Trump and they don't care. Why? Because they think that they can still buy people into the whole vote blue no matter who, and they can. Some of them, their centrist support, but not nearly enough. I mean, when these people talk about, oh yeah, Joe Biden's going to beat Trump, they're only talking about the small contingent of Democratic loyalists that they have. They're completely ignoring everybody else that is no longer not only loyal to either brand, but also angry, especially with this pandemic. If you've noticed, you've seen more people rise up. You've seen the workers that are like the essential workers say we demand higher pay because we're putting our lives on the line and we should be treated as so. You're seeing the rent strike movement. All of these things are happening, and it took a pandemic for them to happen. Yeah, but I mean, this is like the worst time to have somebody like Joe Biden with all of that. That's the cherry on top.
And the crumbs that were being given that keep forgetting. People were looking at, so for example, people were looking at that provision to even that one-time payment of $1,200, which by the way, everybody to take their hat off and say thank you, Tulsi, who was the first to introduce the idea of UBI into the House. And that's when it started to be taken seriously, because everybody else, some people were kind of talking about it, but it took Tulsi introducing it for, weirdly enough, it wasn't a Democrat. Bernie talked about $2,000 a month, but Mitt Romney was the one who got that provision in that new legislation. That was Mitt Romney in the Senate. Ugh, I know, right? Shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way, but that was Romney's resolution.
Yeah.
And they think, and here's the thing. I know you remember, I know probably some of you remember, but they keep wanting to point at the Republicans for the corporate bailout aspect. Except for, here's the problem with that fucking argument. Bro, Republicans didn't even have goddamn majority when they voted. They didn't even have the majority. Two, if you had paid attention to that bailout situation for any more, I don't know, the last 2 or 3 days of it, you remember all the articles that had come out talking about the shitty bailout that Pelosi and Schumer were working on. They were never working to get any type of UBI through, no type of payment through. It was never about that. They were like, and then they handed some crumbs like it's a fucking victory. Bro, you know what that legislation did? It said, oh, we're going to postpone starting any type of legal process on evictions or mortgages, blah, 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 for 90 days. I think for evictions, maybe it's 120 days. Bro, you know what they did? Not a goddamn thing. You know why? Who the fuck is your landlord gonna go talk to when all of the courts are closed? Explain this to me, anybody? Anybody want to explain? Who? They ain't gonna talk to nobody. And most of them don't convene or even think about convening until at least June. Isn't that convenient? They're giving us crumbs and pretending as if we should be grateful. It literally is bread and circus. It ain't even a whole loaf. It's crumbs.
Yeah. And I think,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I think like they're giving us crumbs and it's very obvious. And I think people should be outraged as they are. But I mean, I think this just shows they need to get us back to work, right? They need to get the working class back to work. Like the people that drive, that are the backbone of this country are the working class. And they realize without us, they can't really continue the whole country. The country falls apart. And what people need to realize is, guess what? You're poor. You have to work. Guess what? Don't work. Like I tried. If you
we found out real quick that
because guess
they're
what?
The ones who make it work. Yep.
Yeah, they're gonna make the poor, the middle class and the working class go out and risk their lives so the stock portfolios are fine, so the market is fine. And guess what? We get nothing in return. I think we need to hold them hostage because right now they're holding the people hostage, and we need to turn the tables on them. And there's no other way to do it.
I do find a bit of irony though, right? The problems that have kind of festered for literally decades at this point, with minimum wage being an issue. The ACA is largely responsible for a lot of people being laid off right now, and nobody wants to talk about that aspect. But those businesses do not want to pay for the healthcare costs for employees that are not working during a time period where they're not making any money. Like this, they're going to go fucking out of business immediately. So they had to lay everybody off. Like this culmination of events has led to everybody unable to work. And if you're still working, a lot of times you're not even working the same amount of hours that you used to work. Now everybody's paying attention because we ain't got shit else to do. And all of a sudden, everybody's paying attention to these. Like, why the fuck did it? Hold on, where my money at? And then all of a sudden, you can't play the whole Dems versus Republicans thing. And they're trying it. I would say both Fox News and CNN and the Democrats and Republicans, they're trying to do it. But now everybody is just looking at y'all like, y'all both full of shit. And that is, I think it's going to be a record
Things
low
are never going to be the same.
turnout. Yeah, they're never going to be the same. And I think it's going to be a record low voter turnout in the general. And because of that, Trump's going to win. And because of that, I think more Republicans are going to take back over the House again. They're going to take back over the Senate. And when you have a president, I'm just being realistic, y'all, that has a 49% approval rating, dog, he's taking back every branch of government. Now, how he behaves when he gets every branch of government would be interesting to see, because Trump is like, damn, a flag. And just flap, 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 flap. He was like, remember the narrative? Like, why is Trump moving to the left of Democrats on these issues? He's like, yeah, I think we should stop. He called for HUD to put, they didn't go far. They didn't even go as far as Trump wanted them to go in that bill because he called for suspension of any of it, not just postponement or
It's the Senate that pulled him back. Yeah.
The Senate was the one who, exactly. It was the Senate who did that. And then he wanted UBI without the means tested. They didn't want that. He wanted, there was some other things that he wanted, raising unemployment. He wanted to make a bunch of masks for free and make the testing free. Democrats didn't want, you know why? It's interesting because this is the same guy. Well, I guess we shouldn't be that surprised. He said, well, shit, if y'all don't figure this out, we're just going to give them Medicare for all and be done with it. And all of a sudden Republicans were like, oh, no, can't do that. So it's interesting because he does things for his rich friends, but he's not at the beck and call of lobbyists from very specific sectors like the health insurance sector because he doesn't need their money. He's a billionaire already. So when he does things like move left with the Democrats on common sense issues, it's because it's fucking common sense. It isn't a left or right issue. He's like, yeah, we should take over these Ford factories and make as many masks as possible for free and give as many tests as possible for free. He said that. And everybody's like, oh my God, he's moving left. It's not left. But it's not going to look good when this thing comes at a overpass in November,
and it's also dangerous too, because then you're going to have people like the real hardcore Republicans say, oh look, the Republican Party is giving the working class people all of these solutions. And if you recall, in Germany, that's kind of how it started out. The working class was in need, and then Hitler came in and he was like, I'm going to offer you guys this. And that was the rise of fascism and the Nazis. And we're seeing that play out now, because if the Democrats are going to go so far to the right, the Republicans are going to be smart enough to be like, oh, we're the party of the working people now. And that's kind of what Trump is. He's trying to sell that whole idea, like, of the
Reagan,
populists and all.
He is the new Ronald Reagan. That's what's scary about Trump. He is literally on, and he might already be there. To be completely honest with you, he might already, as far as how he is revered in the future. You remember how everybody wanted to be, literally up until very recently, a Reagan Republican. In fact, whenever they were trying to contrast themselves with Donald Trump during the 2016 election, I'm a Reagan Republican. I just want to get back to the Reagan days. I'm a Reagan Republican. And even the Democrats would try to attack Trump. Oh, I miss the Reagan Republicans. They're the good one. And he's like, nah, bitch, I'm gonna be my own. I'm a Trump Republican. And now we've seen how many governors, legislators, even local politicians run on being a Trump Republican. It's a thing, bro. And for anybody who wants to pretend like this is not reality, bro, look, you need to watch MCSC Network more often, because we're gonna keep it real with you. And the reality of the situation is, we are about to see this. I don't know if it's like it's a shift, but it's an abrupt shift where everybody is going to give almost every politician a middle finger, and we're going to be organizing around the issues again, which is probably for the best, in my humble opinion. I feel like we do need to get back to being a decentralized movement. I do believe that we deify these politicians and activists even a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I've started to see some people kind of, I remember, man, did you see the Jimmy interview with Stoller?
No, I didn't see that yet.
You should. It's a little heartbreaking, not because of the information. The information is like, it's hard to take. I'm critical of Bernie anyway, but it's still hard to take because Matt is somebody who was a Bernie supporter for so long, but he's had critiques, but this thing kind of set him off like over the edge. And he wasn't just talking about Bernie though; he was talking about just politics in general. But you could see Jimmy kind of getting almost discouraged, and you see him angry a lot, but you never see Jimmy go like just sit back and look down, and he kind of like forgot the camera was on because he just realized like, damn, these people, as much as we might like them as individuals, like as much as I might like out of politics, I would still consider Tulsi a friend. Fiorello would probably feel the same way. As a politician, I still have to be critical of her in the same way that I would be critical of any other politician. And that's the standard that we have to have going forward. And maybe, just maybe, once this shit burns down, because it's looking like it's going to, we can get back to the movements of the 60s and the 70s, where our movements were decentralized but focused.
Yep, absolutely.
So do you have any last words before we head up out of here?
No, just I think it's time for people to really take matters into their own hands. And I think there's no better time right now than to do it. At least we have that unemployment with $600 situation going on. It's crumbs, but I mean, it's better than nothing. And
California.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And I think that if it's never been time before, it's time now to actually say a big fuck you to the Democratic Party and stop participating in their game, because they're never going to change. It's never going to happen that you go inside the Democratic Party and you come out and they change your mind. It's just too difficult. The machine is too big. They change you instead. And that's what we've seen happen time and time again. Mm-hmm. They just maul you until you're just like a little half of a percentage of what you were when you went in. And that's what's happened to pretty much everybody that people had hopes in. And so the reality is we need to go outside the Democratic Party and start building there. And so what Niko says happens. So we have that movement once again that's decentralized but extremely focused on achieving our goals.
And by the way, it doesn't only mean, I know everybody's kind of like, I feel like we've almost been kind of calibrated to automatically respond with, oh, that must mean we just need a new party then. No, because that's still you're deifying a different party. It's still a single entity, right? And whether it's the Green Party, Libertarian Party, et cetera, it's beyond that. Yes, people still need to run for office. Good people need to run for office. But fuck that. The people who are there, make them do what the hell you elected them to do. The fuck? Yep. Like, we shouldn't, yes, you should run against people who need to be taken out of office. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that. But I'm saying, imagine what you could do when you organize in front of this person's office every day. When you organize events, like, you don't even got to be the only one. You can switch them up. We doing shifts of protesting. Why? For this particular issue, and we're going to make everybody know it's a protest for this particular issue, and we're going to make you feel it. Like with Iran, like with Syria, like with Yemen, like with probably would have happened with this bill had we not been on quarantine. But that's what we have to do. We have to stop looking for the easy solution. And I'm not saying that running for office is easy. I mean, just ask Tim Canova. It's not easy. You can do everything right and still lose. But very rarely can you do everything right, bring all the attention to an issue and still lose. Because whether you're talking about marriage equality, desegregation, hell, even the Civil War, everything that came with that. People don't know the Democrats used to only allow white people to vote, and Black people could not even vote in their primary. Guess what? That wasn't a legislator who changed that. It wasn't a city council member. No, it was a person. It was a doctor, no legal background, did not run for office. Just like it was a couple, just like it was a civil rights activist. These are the people who change the culture, change the conversation, and then it puts the onus on these legislators to then pass legislation, or it puts the onus on judges, federal judges, usually Supreme Court judges, to say, shit, well, the whole world's watching. we can't mess this up. That's why Roe v. Wade is not going to change. It's not. It doesn't matter if a Republican gets in the Supreme Court. Why? The culture has changed too dramatically for you to get away with upending something like Roe v. Wade. It's just that simple.
It's just theater. Yeah.
That's what it has to be going forward, in my humble opinion. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, make sure y'all go follow Fiorella and the Convo Couch on YouTube. But before you do that, follow them on rockfin.com/the Convo Couch. Go subscribe to them, but do not endorse them. Endorse me.
No, endorse us.
Now, I don't see, I used to feel bad, but we got the same amount of endorsements now. So now I'm not, they got like 3 people on their team, y'all. It's unfair, honestly. Endorse me, but you go watch them and you'll still be supported if you do endorse me, because Rockfin is great like that. Be looking out. They're going to be going exclusively on Rockfin on Wednesdays starting next week.
I think so. Yeah. Wednesdays.
They're going to be going exclusively on Rockfin on Wednesdays. So for all their content on Wednesday, if you're a big Convo Couch fan or a big Fiorella or Pasta fan, got to go to see them on Wednesdays. You have to endorse somebody so you can watch their premium live stream that evening. All right. So go follow Fiorella on Twitter. She's becoming quite popular on Twitter because she just starts dramas. She wakes up y'all don't even know. Fiorella wakes up in the morning and she's on Twitter. Like y'all hear, I will be in the house. I will see her on Twitter before I ever hear a step in her room. We're like, hold up, is Fiorella awake? Hold on, let me go to Twitter real quick, make sure. And that's how I know whether to knock on her door to get her ass out to do the show. If I don't knock on her door and wake her up, so I have to go to Twitter first, because I know damn well some drama went down. Fiorella is tweeting about it and it's probably going viral. So go follow Fiorella on Twitter at Fiorella_IM. Other than that, always remember, more than everything else, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.
Bye.